All right, guys, welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. Yes, if you guys didn't know that, 'cause some of you guys have been asking, podcast comes out every week on Tuesday on the dot. I'll have it ready for you guys in the morning for your work days, bright and early. Today's guest is BG. Some of you guys might know that by the title. If you don't know that by the title, get your mind right. Big shout out to Kevin Burren for sharing the podcast episode from here on out and the last episode of the podcast. Everybody that shares the episode of the podcast on Instagram and tags me in it gets a shout out in the podcast coming up. So good way to help grow the podcast and help you guys out and just share the love and grow the community. So if you guys take a screenshot of the podcast and tag me in it, that way I know you guys put it up there and I can screenshot it so I have your name, just like Kevin. And I'll throw you in the next podcast. I'm excited to get this podcast growing and going with Patty Boy and myself. Podcast studio is coming along. A whole bunch of other stuff's coming along. And we're making money moves. So I'm glad to see it. This is awesome podcast with BG. And I know you guys love it. So tune in, sit down, stand up, roll away. I don't really care what you do as long as you listen to the whole episode and have a good time. So cheers.
Did I wear this when we went to see Abby?
Your white Armada t-shirt. I'm not sure.
Black Armada long sleeve.
Oh, Dude, I don't remember what I did for breakfast, my man. Welcome to this podcast. Welcome to this episode of the podcast, Banged Up with Bruce Oldham, the number one action sports podcast in the world, or very soon to be, if not now. Today's guest is going to be a super sick guy. His name is BG, Brian Gardiner. He's a really good friend of mine and just kills it on the skis. Pretty much all of our guests lately have been skiers. Patty's hitting the puncher bag behind me. But next week's podcast, I have an interesting one. We have downhill mountain bikers, so that's something new to the podcast. I'm excited to bring that on. If you guys have been enjoying the podcast, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you listen. Give it a 5-star rating because it really helps us out, and a review if you can. On YouTube, subscribe to the channel. A bunch of cool stuff going on here. And yeah, we're about to dive into this one in a second. Pat refuses to come onto the podcast without his without a t-shirt or a long sleeve. Sorry, he wants to wear a certain long sleeve, and he will not come on without it. So I'm kind of co-hosting right now. This episode of the podcast
You have it somewhere.
I don't have your shirt. I didn't hide it. You can go upstairs and look. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our supporters over here at Red Bull. For you guys watching the screen, I have the yellow edition. It's a yellow edition kind of day. I'm going to slam it on the podcast, enjoy it, get the energies up for the rest of the day. It's about 4 o'clock, and I got a lot to do, so I'm excited. Went to MMA earlier today, got my ass beat, so all that stuff is good. And we're keeping the energy high. On the last podcast, we gave 3 Red Bulls away to people that sent me their address, and we're shipping them to these people's houses for them to shotgun them / wolf bite them and send us a video to put on the next episode of the podcast. So probably like a podcast or 2 from here. And yeah, we have a couple people that are interested in it. So they're being shipped. I guess I'll probably do it tomorrow. So big news on that, I guess. Also, a big shout out to the ASC, the Action Sports Community, along with all my ski sponsors, K2 Skis Ontario, K2 Skis in general. I got a couple friends that picked up a pair of poachers based off my recommendations, and I highly recommend you get a pair of poachers yourself. I thoroughly like them. They're probably one of the best park skis I've rode. They kind of just get the job done all around, whether you're hitting big jumps, doing slope runs, riding the half pipe, riding slush, or you're kind of in an all-mountain mood. They kind of just get the job done for everything. I got a new pair of K2 boots this year too. I haven't tried them out yet, but I will let you guys know once I try them out. I'm stoked to try them out. Vertica outerwear, baggiest, best, most comfortable outerwear like that they have around. It's just, you gotta go with them. My fearless leader, David Lesh, has fallen under a little bit of controversy lately. Turns out it's all fake, Photoshop, so congrats on him. Master plot. Big shout out to Mount St. Louis Moonstone because they're supporting me this season. Big shout out to Mount St. Louis Moonstone because they're financially supporting me this season, and I'm really stoked on that, and they're helping me out. And honestly, I ride there and spend like all my days riding the park there. Between the schoolyard, junkyard, and Outback, they have the best train parks in, I would say, Canada. Obviously, Whistler and stuff, you get bigger jumps, but it's not the same vibe for me. You about ready to sit down, Podcast Pat? Are you still up on the sweater? Still up on the sweater. And last sponsor, Wear Leathers. If you guys want anything from Wear Leathers, go on their website. Really comfortable mittens that last long. And use the code Bruce at checkout, and you guys will get something extra in your bag. So that's dope. I'm about to call him now, Patty. You're gonna miss the intro. You want to come in with your shirt off, or?
I can't find what I'm looking for, Bruce.
Okay, well, I might have to fire this podcast without you. Lads, do we start the pod without Patty? Oh, you look cute. Come on.
Where's my shirt?
Take your shirt off and sit down. I'm gonna call BG with your shirt off. I'm calling him. We're going live. Alright. Here's to this episode of the podcast, lads. Hey, yo, what's up, my man? Hey.
What is good?
Good to see you, man. Sorry for making you wait. We've been all over the place trying to organize this podcast with you, man.
Heck yeah.
I'm glad we got to do it. You look beautiful as ever. How have you been?
Thank you. I'm stoked to be here. I've watched a bunch of these and happy to finally be on.
You been listening to the podcast?
Yeah, dude, how could I not?
That's pretty funny, man. Honestly, I've been pumping out podcasts, and I generally can't even listen to them myself. I listen to like 5 minutes, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what am I doing with my life? And I continue on the path. The Warriors route.
And you're doing the right thing. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sick actually to get all the boys on here. I like it. It's kind of, it's a nice vibe.
So cool.
Yeah, dude, it's sick. So, how's your summer been, man? Like, it's been kind of a interesting one, eh?
It's been super weird, honestly, with the COVID, but I was in Colorado, Silverton, Colorado for the first part of it.
Yeah.
Just hiking around, rock climbing, mountain biking, everything for like 3 months, and then in like July, my girlfriend and I went back to New York, which is where we're both from.
Yeah.
And I spent a bunch of time with family for like 2 months,
Oh.
and that was really like good to see everyone again. And then
Oh, we're
then
happy.
we came back out here, and now we're in Colorado. I'm just working before the season, and just hopefully we have a season, something close to what we usually have.
Yeah.
Just bopping around a little bit, making a little money, trying to get outside as much as possible. We just got a dog, so we're raising a dog.
Dude, you're committed. Once you get a dog, you're strapped in, man.
Yeah,
That's
dude,
awesome.
It's so worth it. But,
Oh, so cute. What's its name?
Yep. Her name is Bella. She is 8 months old right now, and almost 80 pounds. And she's a King Shepherd Wolf mix.
That's super sick, man. I'm actually mad jealous. That sounds like you had a good summer, buddy. Sounds like you've been keeping busy, so. Excited.
Yeah, man. How was your summer? I saw you were up at Maximize a bunch.
Dude, my summer was working like 7 days a week, or whenever I wasn't working, I was at Maximize, saving up money for the ski season that might never happen. Who knows?
Yeah, straight.
Yeah, that's it. This is Pat. I don't know if you met Pat before. He used to co-host on the podcast. He's my basement dweller roommate. So
And
yeah, good to see you. We're having a little Wi-Fi issues here. The Wi-Fi is slow at the house today, but that's okay.
I think maybe go on data.
Yeah, I'll try to go on the data here, and we'll see if that fixes the situation. But I don't know. We're all over the place with this whole Wi-Fi situation. Our house is
it's all good.
cracked. Cracked out. That's sick though, dude. So, do you want a contest season? Like, are you hoping for like a normal season next year? Or are you hoping to just ski and have fun?
I honestly would like the contest season just to see all the boys. Like, that's kind of the main things. Like, our season, like, that's when we see everyone. That's when we get, like, the big groups. Like, when we're not competing at the contest is, like, what makes the season for me. So, like, I would like a contest season just to, like, be able to see everyone. Because I feel like if we don't, like, no one's going to be traveling as much as usual. Like, and we're going to see a lot together.
Yeah, I know. Which is kind of something I was wondering about. But I also don't really want like a half-ass contest season. I mean, I still want to compete, but it's like, have you heard what they're planning for the NORAM? Or like kind of what they're planning?
I heard that there was 3. That's all.
Yeah. So what I've heard is they're doing 3 NORAMs in the States, and like that's it. And then they might do one in Canada. But like for me, like I don't want to go there quarantine for 2 weeks and then like I don't want to do that and spend a shit ton of money to stay in the States for like a month.
Yeah, that's why, like, Shuff and, like, my team, we didn't go to Europe because we would have had to quarantine for, like, way too long. I think it was, like, 14 days there and back, so it would have been, like, 28 days and all.
Yeah, that's like a whole month.
And I would definitely also not like a half-ass comp season because, I don't know, nothing is good half-assed.
No, I mean, like, I was thinking about it, I'm like, maybe a half-ass contest season is better than no contest season, but, like, they're talking about, like, only doing COTs in Canada, And then, like, I think from what I've talked to everybody else, I would be the only athlete that's willing to go to the States and, like, do the NORAMs. So I'd be, like, the only Canadian athlete doing the NORAMs. Everybody else would just sit in Canada, maybe do a couple CRTs and hang out and train. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how I feel about that, but...
Yeah, it is going to be really weird. And, I don't know, I heard a bunch of stuff happening over in Europe that's not looking too promising for the long run of this season, but...
In terms of COVID cases in contests?
Yeah, COVID, just like mountains randomly closing, like
yeah.
on a random day, like, I don't know, just losing all over the world right now.
Yeah, it's crazy, because Megan was in, I don't know, she's in Austria now? Yeah, I think she's in Austria now, and they're training for the World Cup, and they're supposed to be training at Stabai.
Prime Park.
Yeah.
Prime Park, yeah. And then Prime Park shut down, and the only people that can ride Prime Park are the people that bought the Prime Park, like, pass in advance, and, like, all the Canadian team and all those guys didn't buy it in advance because they were planning on buying it, like when their coaches got there and stuff, so they can't train at all. So Megan's been stuck there in Austria with no ski hill to go train at, and they found this random little one that has a couple jumps and rails that they've been skiing, but, like, yeah, just, like, randomly all shut down.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
I don't know. It's only time will tell at this point.
Yeah.
And that proved over this year, so.
Exactly. How you feeling? Body's all good? Like, ready to go for the season?
Dude. Feeling strong, feeling ready.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just all of these months of sitting and thinking, like, I feel like it makes you more ready than, like, going out there and doing it itself.
Yeah, for sure. Did you do any airbagging at Utah this year?
I actually went for, like, 3 days only and did 4 sessions those 3 days.
Yeah.
But I was back in New York visiting family. I went over to New Hampshire and trained at the Waterville Valley Airbag for like 3 or 4 weeks. I was over there, and yeah, so I got a lot done there. But you can't really get the biggest tricks done, so like no triples or anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that bag looks like it's a flat bag, but it looks like pretty good for flat bag. Like you can do doubles on it and stuff. So.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the best flat bag I've ever hit, and I've hit some real sketchy flat bags. So
sick.
That one is like 75 feet long by like 5 feet wide, so it's longer than it is wide. So on that jump, you can take it almost 65, 70 feet like on the air safely, which is pretty difficult.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You can do a lot of stuff there. Like you don't necessarily need to train triples. Especially at the.
There's mainly right side stuff and switch right. That's like what I use that jump for.
Yeah, exactly. Dude. That's it. That's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
Sick, man. So you've been skiing the last couple days at A Base and it opened up?
Yeah, so A Base is open right now. Keystone's open, and Rec actually never announced their opening day. It opened yesterday. So
that's kind of
everything's starting to open here with one or two trails. But, dude, right now it's nuking outside. It hasn't stopped snowing for, like, probably 15 or 16 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, it's still
Dude, that's insane. We are sitting here, what was it? It was like 2 days ago, it was like plus 20 degrees. It's been raining. We don't have any snow whatsoever. We probably won't open for another month, so...
Yeah.
Getting really stoked to go skiing, man. I see people back on snow, people out west and like Revy and stuff are hitting rails and like getting...
No, it's just Banff area.
Banff, yeah.
Open. So I have like friends from Revy and everywhere, like Nelson. They're trying to get to Banff because that's really the only place up here that's running right now.
But yeah, we have nothing.
Is the place up in the Yukon?
Oh yeah, that's actually because the national.
The Yukon's open, but that's because the national snowboard team booked it for the entire month of November/December.
But it's
and they have rails, and they have it's kind of private. You can sneak in whenever they're not training, as our team talked about doing it, and you could go in whenever they're not training. So after they're done. But the problem for me is, even though it's in Canada, I still have to quarantine. Yukon's like a weird one where you have to quarantine. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But if you're in BC and you go to the Yukon, you don't have to quarantine. But from Ontario to Yukon, you have to quarantine.
It's because Ontario is so bad. If you go to the Maritimes, like Nova Scotia or anything, same thing.
So like I could go to the Yukon and go skiing, but then I have to quarantine for 14 days in the Yukon and then quarantine for 14 days back, even though it's in Canada. But people in BC can go to the Yukon without quarantine.
We can go to Quebec without quarantine.
Yeah.
If that's something you want to do.
How does that make sense?
I don't know, but Max.
Quebec.
Yeah, Maximize got new snow guns and stuff, so they're gonna open in like maybe with a nice jump at the end of November. So that's my hope.
Nice.
Yeah, and they have the big jump that's like 14able, so and they'll open with that once they open. So that'll be sick. And then hot laps. Yeah, it's expensive though, which sucks.
Around here really has a park right now. Like A Basin is the only thing that has it. They have one rail up, and like that's the clip you probably saw was like the only rail in Summit County. And Keystone should be putting up a park today, tomorrow, and the next day. All this snow, but I don't know if they're like no one's been interested in around here except for Copper this year because of the whole COVID thing. Mm-hmm. And reservations for skiing is
pretty high.
It's very having to reserve.
Is that what you guys have to do? You have to reserve like in advance. Like how far?
So it's pretty much like they open up the week.
Yeah.
Monday, and you can reserve that week. This is for like the Epic Pass resorts. They open up the week, and then you can reserve that week, and then that week fills up, and the next time they open it is on Monday. So like, if you don't get a spot on that Monday for the week, not being that week at like Keystone or Breck or something.
That's fucked. And that's that's for like Epic Pass holders, like season pass holders.
Oh yeah, that's for like Epic Pass of any level. And then I have the Icon Pass too, which is A Basin and Copper. And they do parking reservations, which is, I think, way smarter. Like, you reserve a parking spot, and then you can, like, show up all day. Like, you can ski half a day, go away, get lunch, and come back. But, like, for reserving your days skiing, like, it would be a lot harder to leave and come back. Yeah. Or, like, half a day. Or, like, if you want to go ski in afternoon, like, they frown upon you reserving a whole day to go ski in afternoon.
Yeah. That sucks. Yeah. What Mount St. Louis did this year is they sold a limited amount of season passes, and then if you have a season pass, you can come whenever. And then on top of the season pass, they have like you have to reserve to buy a day pass, like, and you can only buy day passes.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense, but
yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier just like that to control things than like at a Keystone or like Breck,
for sure,
where they have millions of people there in a week.
And they have no Epic Passes, no outside passes, nothing like that. It's just like, you have the Mount St. Louis season pass, Yeah,
and I'm not even sure, but I think I heard that Keystone's not even selling day tickets this year. Like, you can't show up day of and buy a pass.
That's fucked.
So,
they usually have a good preseason park, though, eh? Yeah, like, once they get up with rails, it's sick.
Yeah, last year it was like a mile and a half long, like 2.5 kilometers long.
That's so insane. Because I remember going there one year because we went to Breck and Keystone for like a month or like less than a month to train, and like they didn't have the big jumps up yet, but they had such a sick rail setup and so many cool features and stuff. It was sick.
So they like at least one feature out of every preseason park is like 3 or 4 features just together into this huge like monstrosity of metal that takes days to get to the end of. My favorite part of the preseason park. Yeah. Last year they had 3 in a row that were like 100 feet long.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we always used to go for Breck, and the first year we had a little bit of Park Lane, and then Breck, the Dew Tour was on, and then we got to ride Freeway after that.
Yeah, I've only been once, so.
The year after that, it didn't happen, so we just rode Keystone the whole time. But Keystone had a wicked park that first year. Like, they had a nice jump line and all sorts of rails.
Yeah.
Any jump line in the preseason, like once they first open A51, it's unreal. It's so fun.
Yeah, I remember that. I got rocked in that.
Because it's split, right? You could go up and around, and there was jumps and rails and a huge rainbow like 3 or 4 years ago, and then you could go the other way. That rainbow was a lot of fun. Yeah,
the most iconic rainbow in skiing.
Oh, yeah. Straight up. Mm-hmm. So, dude, what are you looking forward to this year, man? Like, what's this new year, post-2020, as if everything's going to change once the new year hits? What are you looking forward to?
Honestly, I am looking forward to hitting a jump again. Like, I'm not looking forward to anything specific. I just, like, want to. Like, I just want to hit a jump that's under, like, 20 feet. That's all I want. for the new year.
That's pretty good. I like that. Keeping it very mellow, but like very fun.
I want all of the places to stay open long enough for all of my friends to have fun. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wow, you're way more generous than I am. I'm gonna fuck everybody else mentality lately, but I like it.
I was in that mentality for a while, and I'm like, gotta change it up a little bit.
I gotta change it up a little bit. Gotta be a little bit of a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Sick, dude. So I was creeping through your Instagram because I was trying to because I kind of do a little bit of research on everybody I have on the podcast just to have topics to transition to and stuff. And I forgot that you went to the China Bigair World Cup.
Yeah, I did go to that.
Tell us about that. That sounds insane.
Yeah, dude. On paper, it didn't do well. That doesn't even matter. That was the best experience of my life. First time I've ever experienced real culture shock. Actually feeling like you're in a foreign place where you can't read signs. And getting to see it crazy, it was all just surreal. In talking about it now, it's hard for me to put it into words because of how it the jump was next 4 oil cooling tower that were 800 feet tall, and it was I don't know, it was so weird. We were skiing on a koi pond.
Dude, that's so sick.
That's
in
cool.
the middle of Beijing, so it was just. It was, see, I can't put it into words.
Yeah, dude, I've been, I had one, I think I had one other person on the podcast that went to that contest. I think it was,
Megan?
no, it was a snowboarder, and Megan also went, and they were talking about it, and it's it sounds so insane, just this perfect scaffolding setup, and
The jump looked nice, I think.
And I heard a lot of stories about scaffolding setups, and I was expecting something that was oh, this janky little thing that was going to be kind of sketchy because of everything I heard. I got there, and it was built like a real jump, but fixed. And it was you could build that jump on the table, anywhere on the table. They just decided to make it 6 feet that day. But the table was the biggest table in land I've ever seen in my life, and it was not, which was crazy. The landing went below. So I said we were jumping on a koi pond. The landing when it came down and flattened out was below the level of the water. They dug under the level of the pond. And,
no way.
And the water was up here.
Oh,
Dude,
that's really cool.
that's insane. I feel they just go way overboard in trying to.
Way overboard, but it was so cool. They had their version of was bringing you back to the top of the jump. It was so crazy.
That jump looked better than most scaffolding jumps I'd seen. It looked smoother and bigger and just more set up, if I remember
It was
correctly.
just it was the Fenway, just if you attached an air pump to it and blew it up, it would gotten way bigger.
That's sick.
The angles just matched so much better.
Dude, that's super sick. All right, well, let's get into the basic questions I've been asking everybody, man. How did you get into skiing growing up? Because everybody has a similar yet different story, and it's always interesting to see what people have to say. So.
Yeah, so I grew up in Connecticut, and lived there till I was 15. But from the time I was 1.5, which is when I learned how to ski, I learned how to ski up at Whiteface in New York. So my parents every single weekend would drive up from Connecticut to New York for 13 years straight, every weekend in the winter. We would drive.
Wow.
A lot of driving.
Yeah. When I turned 15, backtrack. When I turned 10, I joined the freestyle team and started doing that. And by the time I was 13, I was staying with people up in New York though. Friends' parents, they would let me stay at their house for the week, and I would get all my schoolwork from school and do it over that week and then go back. Turn it all in, and I did that until I was 15, and then my mom was we just gotta move up to New York, this is ridiculous, doing this for so long. And so I finally moved up there and started training full-time skiing when I was 15, and when I was 15, my life quote changed from I'm kind of skiing sometimes to I'm going to workouts 4 times a week, I'm running, I'm water ramping 5 days a week in the summer, I'm working as much to help pay for it, all this stuff since I was 15.
Yeah.
And I did that in New York until I was 18-ish, just before I graduated. That's when I moved to Waterville Valley, and I finished up online high school there. I did all my high school online, so I never had to worry about like going to school to turn anything. And I trained with the Waterville Valley team and the coach over there, who's Dan Shuffleton, and pretty much graduated high school in December of my senior year, so 6 months early, and just skied. Like, right when I graduated high school, it was like the flip switch, or the switch flip. There we go.
Switch flip, the flip switch.
And just like full-time, like, this is what I want to do. And that's, I feel like my progression just like skyrocketed. Was right when I was like done with school, and I was just like on the trampolines every single day. I was skiing every single day. I was hitting like the dry slope rail every single day. Like,
for sure, man. So how old are you right now?
I just turned 21.
Okay.
The week of the Park City Rev Tour. Yeah. Like my birthday was on the training day for Bigair.
Okay, sick. Yeah, that was a fun event. I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, that was very, very fun event.
It was nice weather. It was good. It was good. It was nice weather. It was fun. It was cool.
But
it was really cool to go to Woodward because I've never been to a Woodward before, so I like that part a lot.
That one is definitely the largest one.
Yeah?
Hands down. I go to Woodward at Copper all the time, and then going there is just like, whoa, okay.
Let's try. See what happens.
Yeah, Pat wants me to try to flip the phone.
No, it doesn't work.
No, you're good. He wanted to flip it because he thought if we flipped it, it would come up sideways on the screen when I'm screen recording it, and it doesn't. It just like comes up like chubbier and like skinnier.
Wait, flip your phone.
If you both flip it, though, was my point.
Yeah,
we could do that, yeah. I've got to figure out where I'm going to put this in the thing now, though.
Top corner, same way.
But now both of our beautiful faces are in the bottom corner. We got to find a spot for BG eventually. We'll figure it out. I've been messing around with the podcast, like, trying to figure out how to, like, film it and record it. Like, the screen recording works well, just because, like, it's super easy because you rip it over FaceTime. And, it's
so good.
The Zoom doesn't work on, like, my internet. And also, not everybody has Zoom, and they have to download Zoom, and it's like, fuck.
But if people don't have an iPhone.
If this was, like, 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been able to FaceTime, because I just switched to an iPhone.
Told you. This is what I was saying. If you didn't have an iPhone...
Okay, well, we just won't invite anybody that doesn't have an iPhone. They have to be sophisticated enough to have an iPhone. That's the rule. If you're coming to the podcast, you have to be sophisticated enough to own an iPhone. So, what are your thoughts on the contest scene, like, at the moment? And, like, in terms of, like, Bigair, slopestyle, half pipe, but also, like, in terms of, like, tricks and, like, where it's going, like, or where you see it going. It's a tough one. We'll voice our own opinion on this, so.
I think in the next year, like, big spins and in, like, double course. So, like, we're going to see more, like, 7 to 10 and 7 to 12 at some point. Like, someone's going to figure out how to do it. Like, I've already seen people figuring it out.
Yeah.
And just, like, 7 blunt to, like, 10 blunt or, like, 12 blunt. Like, they're just going to hold that out a little bit longer. Or, like, in triples, switching grabs, like, that's already, like, a couple people have already started doing that. I think that's going to, like, come up a lot more. Definitely, I would like to personally see, like, I don't think all the Dub 12s have been done. That's my thing, is, like, all the Dub 12s haven't been done. So, all the Dub 10s haven't been done. All the Switch Dub 10s haven't been done.
There's
so, like,
more variations, yeah.
There's a lot more variations.
Yeah, way more variations. And, like, that's where I would hope skiing goes, is, like...
keeping the style.
I remember at Aspen last year, I did a Dub 12 mute to stale and, like, got scored not well because they were like, oh, you didn't... Like, you can grab one grab longer than if you switch grabs. So you're technically grabbing more if you're doing one grab than if you're switching grabs in a trick. And I was just like, but it's harder to switch grabs in a trick.
Yeah.
So, like, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, like, if one thing is just obviously harder, like, you could argue that a Dub 10 safety is harder then because you're holding one grab longer than a fucking, like, Dub 12 octo to... nose.
Yeah, but like, once you grab your ski, you just have to not let go of your ski. It's not that hard.
Like, if you let go, you screw up. It's like, no, I meant to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty dumb.
Well, I actually watched X Games Bigair, like, the Aspen one this year, like, I think it was, like, yesterday, And dude, Antoine Adelise did a triple cork. He did mute to safety.
I remember
to
that.
lead blunt. I was like, I totally
Yeah.
forgot about that, dude.
That was
I mean,
wild. I remember
obviously,
that, yeah.
I will say his grabs weren't clean enough for me to count it as like nice.
But
like if you could do like clean, nice grabs,
Burke
and,
Rudd
like
did
switch
it, yeah.
well through them, like I could see that it should score way more.
Didn't Oystein Broughton do switch dub 14 blunt to blunt? But Burke
And
Rudd
mute
did
to
something
mute or
too.
something.
Burke Rudd did something too, I think.
Dub
He
14
did
blunt
up
to blunt.
14 lead blunt, trail blunt.
Like
Yeah,
forward,
yeah,
though,
forward.
yeah.
That's right.
And those scored well, so it's interesting to see how it does. And they rinsed people for boot safeties last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like Elias Sirja, who did the switch triple, like
Pre-nose.
Guero.
He did a pre-nose too,
Like-
didn't he?
No, that was
That was
Antoine.
a different one.
Oh, okay.
He did, I forget, it was like switch triple Guero to like mute or something. And he like switched it and landed it. And he was like, that was the first time anyone landed anything. And I got sixth. Like,
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, and he
And
did.
then
I
first
watched
time
that video
triple.
too. He did dub mute, like switch triple, dub mute, screaming semen uncrossed,
that's what I was-
and he
yes.
did that in a switch triple, and like they just like
That's
shrugged
the
it
one.
off, and I was like, whoa, wait a second.
That's because they
Wait a
changed the
minute.
judging, man. It was just overall impression.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
yeah.
overall impression.
There's
You have to
no
look at
logic
metrics.
behind it. They're like, I liked his the best. I'm taking that one.
But
I-
then in China, Elias also did a nosebud dub 16 blunt, like whole way. And he only got fourth there. So, I don't know.
Good
Like,
for
he, in my opinion, is the most... He's where I want to see skiing going. Like
More
that is-
creativity and style.
There's a lot of
way more
creativity.
creative.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to my girlfriend earlier, like, slope courses I've seen have gotten more symmetrical. Like,
Yeah.
the feature, like, they want to see people doing the same things, just different directions.
Yeah, it's turning more into like calculated gymnastics versus freestyle skiing. There's like, if you look back to like 2012, it was all style. Like if you did a road 9 Japan mute to Japan, or that was it. And then it kind of all of a sudden the degree of difficulty started to get turned up, and then it was just the hunt for the triple. But then last year there was a change where people stopped focusing so much on triples and more on dub 16s and more spins and doubles. So I don't know if that'll keep going.
Well, there's
but,
they've also done their part in trying to make the courses more unique to like
Yeah.
tone down it.
but
like,
they are symmetrical, like you said.
pretty
They're
mu-
looking for the same thing both ways.
Yeah, and like
Like,
pretty
there's
much.
only so much you can do with two down rails with,
Yeah.
like, a side and a jump on this
Okay.
side. Like, there's only so much you can do with that.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I agree with that. And I don't like how they put the rails. They make this is not to be mean or like don't quote me on this or get mad at me, but like they make girl rails in slopestyle courses, especially in NORAMs and
Oh yeah, the
and
side booters.
because they have to have features that everybody can hit. Like if they have like what was it at Woodward? They had the two rails to the middle one, right? But they had to have a classic down rail that the people that weren't as advanced,
Could
like
hit.
some of the girls and some of the guys, could hit.
Like
And they do
Kevin
that
Hart.
in a lot of the events. And I've seen a lot of events I've been to have a down rail and then have a down box
Yeah,
right
that's what I was
beside
gonna
it,
say,
just
the
so
box.
people can.
You have to have the
I'm like,
box.
and that's like, okay, we can be more creative than this, guys.
Yeah.
or
and,
just
like,
you have to be able to ride the course to be involved in the competition. That would be.
Or like having side booters on the jumps. yeah.
oh
Like,
my god, yeah. Or when they have to build, like, a small side the day of.
yeah.
That's my...
Yeah. Oh man, that's so true. They did not plan it, and then it's like the most half-assed. It doesn't line up. Like you just knuckle it so hard if you hit it.
Yeah.
It's so
Those
funny.
are good. But they have done their fair share of like putting like quarter pipes or spines into the
that's
to
new.
the events to
That's
like
definitely sweet.
because there's like
Yeah.
I mean it tones down what you can do a little more and it also like adds a little bit more creativity. Like
Yeah.
it's not like the last jump at Aspen is a money booter where you could quad. It's like no, it's a creative feature. Yet we still saw
like,
people
it,
triple
like,
it, but
it took the place of a setup jump. Like, back in the day, like, they used to have, like, a 30-foot jump in a slope course.
Just,
as,
Yes.
like,
yeah,
and that's where you would see, like, the Road 9 or,
yeah.
like, the
Cork
Cork
9
9.
blonde. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom
And
Walsh
it
should
would
do
be,
his
like, a 35-foot jump. Yeah, Tom Walsh, when X Games was in France, he did a switch right 5 and a Cork 9 in France and
Yeah.
won the... Like,
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, oh.
I mean,
God.
so if you look at that and then look at how far it's come from now, because this year,
Yeah, but how good was that switch 5?
It was nice. It was a nice switch 5, but
and at the same time, there were 7 jumps in that slope course. So
Yeah.
he did at the same time do a dub 12 and both ways switch dub 10s while doing a switch right
Dude,
5.
a 7-jump course would be insane.
So sick.
Insane.
I would love that. Dude, I'm a big fan of the 4-jump courses.
Yeah.
But I was not a fan of this year. I was really pissed off this year. Not pissed off, but like upset. Because they had a spine in the courses. And they counted the spine as you could do a left forward hit on the spine and do a left forward hit later down on one of the jumps. And they would not count that as this. Like, they didn't take points off for that. So you saw, like, at Aspen Open, Dylan,
at Aspen, yeah.
and at
You're fired up about this one, holy smokes.
yeah, the COT, the Calgary NORAM, Dylan Marino did 3 forward tricks on it and qualified first. He did 3 forward tricks in his single feature, and because they counted the quarter pipe as not a jump feature that you could do since it's a quarter pipe and it's new, you didn't have to hit it a different direction than the other jumps. I didn't like that.
Should do
I don't like that either.
No.
Because I was trying to hit everything different directions up at all those comps, and I didn't even know that was a rule. And that would have changed the way that I went about it if I knew that.
Well, dude, if you look back at the Aspen runs, there's a couple people that did this. They would do a forward left dub, and then they do 2 other directions, and then they get down to the spine, and they do another left dub on the spine because technically it didn't count. Yeah.
I remember Aspen. That was a spooky comp.
I had fun there, but I had a lot of speed issues.
Oh yeah, like the course was great, and I loved the course. I just meant the whole framework was a little spooky.
Yeah.
You should do X Games where the riders who are competing judge themselves. You just record it and then they watch it after, and then you just can't vote for yourself.
I feel like that would be.
Wins.
But what if you genuinely did the best run and you can't vote for yourself?
Well, no, but then other people would vote for you if you genuinely did.
Yeah,
But what if they just
want?
want?
You can't vote for yourself.
I don't know.
You
if
just
that's
have
the
to
right way
convince
do it.
2 people that aren't yourself, or at least 2 people that you are the best one.
I'm disagree on that one.
That kind of sounds like the spring battle comp where they film the runs and like you have 2 days to get your run down.
Yeah, it is.
Dude,
It's
have
tough
you
out there
done
like
that? I've always wanted to do that.
I've always wanted to, but I've not.
I might have to bite the bullet and spend all the money in my bank account and just do that one time because it looks so much fun.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, those jumps. Everything about that.
Yeah,
it is
looks
very
insane.
expensive to get there, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Is money.
It's always better, or I find everyone in skiing enjoys courses or comps more where they're judged by skiers or it's more inclusive than like every time you get into like you guys were talking about the spines and stuff, all the judging, all of a sudden they get all these rules and ideas and they start to decide what's worth what and this and that, and it just like then you get people arguing over why was this not this, because then you got to strategize your run and stuff, and it's just like from a skiing point of view it's not as there's no freestyle anymore. You've got to decide what your style is based on how the judges are going to score the run.
For
Or
sure.
like pick your style.
Yeah,
before
exactly.
No, like if you're gonna compete in not today's day and age, you have to play to the judges a little bit for sure.
And I'm not
but
saying that
like
you shouldn't have
the
to do
judges
that.
like also have a really hard job, man, because like there's a lot of kids that like, or there's a lot of like runs you have to watch. There's a lot of like nuances that you have to pay attention to. And in the grand scheme of things, to like pick out of like the 50 kids who had the best run, like when it comes down to it, it's pretty hard.
It is.
Yeah. And especially at our level, like we don't have live like
No,
video
exactly.
that judges can look back on. So like they're watching a run, and they're like, I think that happened. Yep, okay. Like at Park City, on the last jump, I did a switched up 10 jab and like landed it fine, like just like any other one. And the spotter on the last jump called up to the judges and said I missed my grab and I double hand dragged and I like didn't make finals, and I did the same run the next day and got 4th in like the whole competition.
Yeah.
And like that strictly came down to like
One
that
dude.
guy not being qualified to watch skiing, and he did.
Yeah.
And like it's just little things like that I feel like can be smoothed out a little bit.
Yeah, some of those things definitely can be touched up, and that's like a big thing. And also, you find like depending on where you go, different judges will weigh things differently. Like
It's all different
that
personal
for
preference.
like that contest. There was 3 rails and 2 jumps, but they weighted the jumps so much more heavily than rails.
Yeah.
You could have the world's best rail run and do like 2 clean dubs, but if you didn't do a 14 and a 12, you weren't going to make it. Like there was a couple of the top runs that did well at that contest that had not the best rails. Like that they were like these rails are like pretty basic. but they had really good jumps. So
Yeah, they did like a switch 12 to 12, and they're just like, oh, you did a 12 to 12 on this course. Like,
yeah, but then also they did like a 2 on, continuing 2, to a switch 2 to switch, to a switch 2, continuing 2, and you're like, that's not the most gnarly rail run, but.
Yeah, well, your coach usually goes to the like coaches meeting beforehand, and the judges are like, "This is what we want to see. We're weighting this on this and this," and then you find out what they're looking for, and then they got to tell you this, and then you've got to. It's hard. That's kind of what's interesting about the new X Games judging is it's just personal preference.
Dude, the overall impression is kind of gnarly because you genuinely don't know.
You don't know.
That gnarly. Like, and Colby pretty much proved that like it's doable. Like that format, like. You can crush it one day. Like, Colby didn't fall once.
No, he should have won that contest, 100%.
He did.
Yeah, he did, but, like, he should have won. Like, he deserved to win that contest.
Oh, yeah.
That was
he
clear.
Four runs with every trick being different, except for one dub 12 blunt in, like, 2 different runs.
Which is insane.
Insane. Like, mind-blowing that a human being can do that.
And, like, good rail runs, clean grabs, clean everything.
Like, when it counts. Like, you need to do it.
He's got to be one of the most consistent skiers out there under pressure right now. But, like,
for sure, yeah. A-Hall does pretty good, too. Yeah. Like, I remember watching A-Hall at the Tom Walsh Rail Jam under, like, pressure, like, trying to get those rails to win that one. And, like, he did, like, what was it? It was, like, back swap, back 4, and, like, that gnarly elbow rail. I was like, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. He landed, like, 4 tricks in a row in, like, the last 5 minutes or something like that.
He's just eating the pressure.
But, like, what I was saying was, like, think about how hard it would be to judge that if Kobe had, like, fallen on one of those runs. Because then, like, because like he obviously like clearly won because he didn't fall and he did a different run every time. But if he had like fallen on one of those runs, then like how do you pick a winner from that? Like,
yeah, you don't. Well, you just it's whoever I guess was.
Then you just gotta like kind of guess and like I think he won.
I like this guy's. I kind of
perfectly.
It depends who's judging it, but I kind of like the idea. Well, it's hard to say. It's controversial, but if the judge likes which style they like more. So if you're watching, if I was judging and someone has got a different style, like you said, or like Harlow's style is way better, or in my opinion, better than like an A-Hall style. But A-Hall's is way more technical with the grabs and stuff. So it just depends on what you like to see more as a judge. Yeah. So that's what can be complicated, because even if you skied well, it just might not be what that guy likes per se.
And like that like whole gray area is why our sport is what it is, because like other sports, they've gone through that and they're like, no, let's make a list of how much every trick is worth, and like no, like that's the maximum amount of points you can get on that one trick.
Yeah.
And if you do anything wrong, like you get deducted from that max score.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, where you have a score out of 100, and it's pretty much what the judges are liking that day.
Yeah.
Like that's why free skiing. Like we don't really want it to be aerials or moguls or anything.
Aerials, it's like he can get 280 points if he lands this perfectly. It's like okay.
Well, we sit here talk about judging and like scoring and contest seating and like how like the problems with it, but also like it is kind of what makes the sport what it is.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's like obviously everything gets better as you like do it more and figure it out, but like it's one of those things that's it's a very opinion based sport.
It's complicated. And it's hard to say what's
for
best.
For some people that compete in that kind of scenario, it's like it's hard to take that because like it's not like you're running like okay, first the fastest 10K wins and that's your time and you won. It's like well, you could think that you had the best run, but somebody else could think that you didn't have the best run, and then it's like you don't have any way of really like Yeah.
That's where like the X Games and like ESPN filming it kind of takes that out of it, because like
helps
if
a
it's
lot.
on video at the time of it happening, like there's no really arguing what happened for everyone to see. But like at our level, it's completely like opinion based. It's like, oh, this is what I think I saw. Like I hope I was paying attention long enough during that trick to see like what happened. So
yeah. And they have spotters. It's like, how can you judge something if you didn't see it? Or like this split
like,
panel
this
judging.
guy'll be my eyes. It's like, well, he might see something completely different than you.
There's also a different style of landing. There's a landing where you land and you're like squatting and you're like,
4-point
I'm
landing.
gonna hold on. And there's a landing where you afterbang the hell out of it, or you just like land Tom Walsh style and you ride out, which I think you should be scored higher on. And if you can't see landings like that, then that's also something. But whatever, it is what it is.
I like how you can choose what you do though. Like that's another thing about aerials is you're not allowed to do more than a certain amount of flips or spins, and you can only get this many points. And it's like, well, what if I want to do more?
And right before you drop in aerials, you have to tell the spotter what trick you're gonna do.
Yeah, they have to know.
I didn't know
If
that.
you accidentally do a different trick, like
They don't count it. Yeah, you have to be like, I'm gonna do a dub 12 blunt, and I'm gonna hold the blunt for 2.3 seconds, and I'm gonna get hopefully 280 points.
hopefully 280 points.
It's so weird in that sense.
Dude, it was funny. I was watching the X Games, like I said, the X Games Bigair, and like you see, like Andre will go for went for safety, misses the safety in like a switched up 16, grabs Tindy and pulls on for Tindy. I'm like, woo! And like, and then you get points for like grabbing Tindy, but it's like he's just holding on for dear life.
Oh yeah.
I wish more like skiers, like ex-skiers judge. Like, I mean, there might be more in there than I think.
It's getting
better because the sport's growing and it's getting older, so there's more people exchanging. But I always find it weird when someone judges freestyle skiing who has never done freestyle skiing before. Because, like, as a skier, I can tell if, like, what Bruce said happened. And I might like it more, but I'm also going to know in the back of my head that guy is shitting his pants right now, and he's holding on for dear life. Whereas they're just be like, oh, that was awesome. We'll give him more points.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Or like you said with the landing.
It's just like, Mom, are you proud of me yet?
Yeah, literally.
Dude, I listened to Henrik Carlos podcast with Simon Dumont, and they were talking about his X Games experience because he also did the same thing that Kobe did. He stomped every single trick that X Games Bigair and like crushed it. But then he's like talking about, he's like, I've landed every trick so far. Andre's fallen once, and Andre was in fourth. But then he landed a switch triple misty and got bumped into first. And Henrik was saying he's at the top. He's like, yeah, I saw him do a switch triple misty, but he was grabbing his knee like this because he has one hand safety and the other hand's fully knee hugging.
Yeah, which is like, okay, I don't know about that one.
And he's like, okay, so and in his mind, he's like, I'm still in first. And then he heard that he got bumped in the second. He's like, no, there's no way I'm going to lose to that. And then he went and did the last jump. But like, it's funny because switch triple misty is insane.
I would.
But like, you are grabbing your knees and you are in full prey mode.
If you're doing a switch triple misty safety, I want like above the ski, wide legged, like orbital around,
or
not
at least
double knee tuck. Like, oh dear God, here I come.
At least one hand safety, not knee tucking.
Yeah,
at least like one hand safety.
If I was judging and you're touching your knee because you decided you want to do a quad instead of a triple, I'm gonna be like, sorry, mate. Unless it's, I'd rather see the triple. Like, honestly.
Just done a triple without grabbing your knee.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, that's the one thing about judging. Like, that's a perfect example. Like, as a skier and someone who's done it, I know. No, don't do that.
I also don't know how you're going to get around a switch triple misty without grabbing your knees.
Grab mute and just hold on.
I don't think that's a good idea to begin with.
Get a bigger jump.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, dude, we could just keep, like, by the time me and you get to that level, the X Games jump could just be, like, 400 feet.
No, they tested that in that
movie. It could just be a 400-foot jump.
Yeah, the Legs of Steel movie where the guy, like, broke all of his bones.
Yeah, the jump was way too big. I remember watching that. I bought that movie, and that was the only thing I wanted to see. The rest of it was ski racing and other random stuff.
Bought the movie.
Yeah, and it was just these guys, they, like, put so much money into that jump, and they couldn't even do a trick on it because
it was so big.
It was too big, so the point of if you went 2 kilometers too fast, you missed the landing. And if you went 2 kilometers too slow, you came up like 15 feet short.
Oh my God. And it was like a 200-foot or a 190-foot knuckle.
Yeah, 10 meters in the air. Like,
that's insane.
Oh my God.
I actually didn't know it was that big. I remember watching it.
I got the movie. We could watch it.
We should watch it after this. I'm actually excited to see somebody get tossed.
Yep. You don't even see it, dude. You don't even really see it because he just falls behind the building.
Yeah, like, they had a windsock that was like 10 meters tall, and the guy just flying past it.
So, what's the worst injury you've ever had? Have you had any bad injuries skiing, or you've been pretty?
Oh, I've had a list. You got time?
Yeah, we got time, man.
Is it longer than my list? Is the question.
It might be.
So you want me to start head down or feet up?
Feet up.
You pick. Feet up. Pat goes feet up.
All right. So, feet up, I have sprained both of my ankles at least 4 times each.
Yeah.
I've done my meniscus, so, like, nothing too bad down here. I've needed meniscus surgery, and they had to cut out 40% of my meniscus and stitch the rest back together, so I have 60% of my lateral meniscus on my right leg. And then moving up the body, I have 3 compression fractures in my lower 2 vertebrae from water ramping and hitting aerial jumps for so long.
That's a gnarly one.
Because you used to go to the
Old Placid one.
Lake Placid, yeah.
Yeah, because we used to go there too. We spent a lot of time there.
Hell yeah, dude. I lived like 20 minutes away from there.
I remember the first time I went there, a guy on my team did a carving cork 5 on the Bigair jump to the right, and he like landed on the stairs, like in the water. He like landed on the stairs. He was okay because there was like this much water, and you know how much the skis absorb of that. And I was like, remember watching that, and he had a water bottle so that he could hand drag with it, and I was like, dude, I'm never doing that ever. Don't go right.
One time, my first time there, my first year on the team, I was trying to be like that kid, right? And I was trying to impress everybody. And they had that big rock climbing wall there, and you could jump off the top.
That's Beauport, not Placid.
Oh, Beauport. Yeah, I'm talking about Beauport, yeah. But you've been to Beauport, too.
I've been there, too, a bunch, yeah.
And, yeah, I tried to do a triple Misty off there, and I had no clue what I was doing. And I, like, did 2.5 and fully just, like, sausage rolled to my stomach, and I was, like, just dead in the water. That was not fun.
I've spent a lot of time on those ramps. Most people hated them. I actually enjoyed it. Like
I didn't mind it.
The Beauport one, the bubbler you never used because we're not aerialists. We always overshot the bubbles. From you hit the triple top down. I used to do brandy backs on the triple top down and just gap all the bubbles and fracture everything.
It's easily like the biggest jump I've ever hit not on snow.
Yeah.
Like any training venue, like that's the biggest jump. I've actually there to get back into my list. I was trying a triple flat there, and I landed on my chest, and I just started coughing up blood.
Yeah.
And popped a bunch of capillaries in my lungs, and I still have like scars.
That sucks. That's a gnarly one.
Dude, yeah, I think everybody that's ramped there has a couple stories of like just getting clapped by the bubbles.
I remember I was doing right dub 10 and 12 mutes, and I decided to do one on the triple. And I like floated as like one of the last jumps today. I locked into the mute real high, coming down to 12. And I just didn't let go of the mute and wrapped to 14. And, like, would have bolts landed it on snow. Because, like, the landing is slow.
Like,
slightly inclined. And I missed all the bubbles. Like, I went huge. Like, as big as I could go. I always went as big as I could go. And I remember sitting in the water hearing, like, radio static floating. And everything was purple and green. And I was just getting out of the water. And I was like, that was not good.
Yeah, dude. Water ramping is very gnarly if you don't land.
I didn't usually have any, I never
really...
It
was fun. I just hated it because I had to spend an entire summer learning right corks there. And I could not right cork. And I just was doing, like, right 540s to my stomach, right 540 to my stomach for, like, an entire summer. And that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
I never had any big...
Anyways,
big ones,
working up from there. What else you got?
Working up from there?
Working up from there.
I think this was 3 or 4 years ago now. This is my worst injury, just letting you know. This is the worst one. So I dislocated both of my clavicles and my sternum and a rib at one time.
Jesus.
That doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, so, like, this whole area of my body was, like, not existent.
How'd you do that one?
I did a switched up 9 and caught tips, but I caught tips sideways instead of forwards. And my shoulder, like, drove into the ground, and my clavicle shot across my body and, like, knocked my sternum out of place and knocked a rib out of place. And both of my clavicles were just, like, in limbo. And, like, my shoulders, they touched in front of me.
Oh, my God.
That's not good.
And they, like, touched each other. And then when I opened back up, I felt everything, like, snap back into place.
Oh, wow. I would not want to do that.
So, on a pain scale, how much did that hurt?
Yeah.
That was, like... that had to be a 9. Like, I don't claim a 10, but it was a 9.
Like, mine didn't hurt that much. Like, when I had my bad accident, it was numb. Like, I couldn't feel my legs.
Probably in shock.
I was in shock. Like, it hurt. But, like, it wasn't like I was on the ground in pain rolling around. It hurt for a minute, and then I was just sitting there shaking and couldn't feel anything.
Yeah, that's how it was. And then what made it, like, the worst pain ever was they put me in a neck brace for it.
Oh.
And I was in a neck brace for, like, an hour and a half, and I was sitting in the ski patrol room, and, like, this 80-year-old man, like, smoking a pipe walks into the room, and he goes, "What'd you do?" And I, like, told him, and he goes, "Well, why are you in a neck brace?" And he, like, rips the neck brace off of me, and I just, like, felt this relief, but then he, like, saw how swollen my neck was, and he was like, "I've only seen this, like, one other time in my life, so, like, we're getting you to the hospital." And, like, then the ambulance guy put me back in a neck brace for about, like 2 hours until another doctor came in and was like, "Why are you in a neck brace?" I'm like, "I tried to tell him, dude," but like it just made my neck so stiff that I couldn't turn like any part of my head. Like my head was cemented looking forward for like 3 days.
That would be brutal.
Yeah, and I couldn't get out of bed the morning after I did that because I couldn't push down on my arms because, like, you don't even realize, but you're using this
all the time. Anytime you move your arms, is all in there. Yeah,
all in here. And like I couldn't move for like a day.
That's a brutal one.
So how long did that take to heal up?
That was 4 weeks to like heal back to being able to like ski around, and then like another 2 to being 6 weeks to do tricks again after that.
That's a substantial one.
Yeah, that does not sound fun.
I've never really...
And then on top of that, I have separated or dislocated both of my shoulders 7 times on each.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Dude, I dislocated my shoulder this year for the first time, and it sucked, and I have not done it 7 times, so...
I
haven't dislocated 7 times. I've subluxed, like... I've only dislocated fully once, but I've subluxed, like, 14 times in all.
I've torn my supraspinatus in both shoulders a couple times, which is... But, like, I've never dislocated my shoulders. Those sucked. Like, I did a switch 5 in New Zealand and just kind of dragged my arm just a little bit, and it just tore. And then I, like, missed... I didn't miss that much because it wasn't a full tear, but it hurt a lot for, like, a few days.
I torn this shoulder from my dislocation. It's, like, right here.
Does it ever pop out, or...?
I've just been doing a lot of band exercises, which pretty much reverse anything that you do if you do enough of them. So, like, when I did it, I didn't think I would be doing push-ups, like, as normally as I ever was. Yeah. But, like, I'm back doing push-ups normally. Like, I can do pull-ups, I can do handstands again. Like,
how did you do that? Like, what injury? Was that skiing related as well?
Yeah, I was actually hitting an urban rail.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Like, all season, and we were looking for this spot, and my friend just go, "Yo, I know a 6 kink with an elbow," and I'm like, "I'm in."
That's your first mistake.
Oh, Jesus
Christ. Dude, that was my mistake right there. And, like, first hit, I, like, just caught on the paint because I didn't scrape it off on the kink enough.
That was your second mistake.
Yeah, I made 2 mistakes, and I caught on the kink, like, switch nutted kind of, like, under my thigh, and then just, like, flipped onto like my shoulder and like cartwheeled over my arm like that.
Oh.
Yeah, that sucks. I had one like that. We were trying to hit an urban rail in Perry Sound actually, and it wasn't like a super gnarly one, but I tried to right 2 onto it and I didn't have enough speed, so I literally did a right 180 to my sack.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And there's a video of me just like hopping around like this, holding my balls. So like I had a bruised. Like, somehow my balls didn't hit, but, like, my gooch hit, like, just my gooch.
Because you're going backwards, right? So when you're moving
and I was, like, and I'm, like, just short enough that my skis are, like, 4 inches from touching the ground. So, like, gooch was bruised for, like, a week, and I couldn't sit down. Outside of that, I was, like, I was pretty good. But, yeah. Dude, it's sick. We're almost at an hour, so we'll wrap this up. Because
I got it right there.
Yeah. It was, like, the world's worst 2-on, too. I just, like... Didn't even come close. I just like fully wanted to my.
It looks like you were trying to switch 50.
Yeah, I was not the best skier at that point in time, but yes.
So you've had a lot of upper body injuries. Is that mostly from like? I don't know. I've never tip caught. I've had a lot more lower body injuries from.
No, I've only tip caught that one time. Yeah? Everything else has been like rails, like all the shoulders rails. Like all of my concussions on rails. Like
rails are deadly.
I've had a couple on jumps. I've had a lot of concussions. That is a fact. I don't know how many, but a lot.
Yeah, like I said about mine with ramps. That was one of my worst ones. But I used to hit my head and just not tell anyone because I'm like, hey, I'll just sit around for 3 days. I'll be okay. I've done this.
Dude, I've never got diagnosed for concussions, but I've had at least like 8 for sure.
I've been diagnosed
like maybe not
3.
super gnarly ones, but like 8 where you're like, okay, I'm not doing anything for the next day.
I've gotten to the point where I can diagnose myself because I'm like, I know this feeling.
Yeah, same here. When you like hit your mouth gets like numb, or like
your teeth get numb. Like
it's
there's this one time at Sunday River in Maine that I was trying a cork 9. It was at a USASA comp when I was like 16 or 17, and the course was awful. Like you go one notch too fast and you're landing on the next jump's landing. And I tried a cork 9 like 3rd run. and just like over-rotated to 10, and then like it was pretty much like a 10-3 roll on like I did a cork 10 but like the top of my head, and I hit my head so hard I was like not speaking English, and I like go down to the ski patrol. I was like, head, it hurts, and he's like, oh, that trick, it looked good until it didn't, and then he like skied away, and I was like, dude, all right. I can't even speak English right now.
Thanks for that one. Yeah, I've hit, like I said, that one where I remember seeing everything in like blue and green tint, and like the hearing. That was a bad one. I had another one where I had, not skiing related, I had a wall fall on my head. That one, I was like, that was probably my worst one. Like in terms of like symptoms lasting long, like I couldn't read anything or focus on anything for a few months. Like that one was bad. But
it's crazy. The symptoms affect you long term. Light sensitivity is the only one that still affects me. Like driving at night, like my head will start hurting.
Really? Yeah. I had a friend. I don't know if you know. You probably know Ethan Harrison. You know.
Oh yeah.
He's hit his head so many times he has to wear glasses.
Oh man.
Like he's had a lot. Like I've been skiing with that kid since I was in like grade 8, and he's hit a lot of head injuries. I had a lot, but those two were bad. Like usually it's not that bad, you know. Like you get a little bit of numb teeth and you're shaking up, and you try to just chill for the day, but it's not bad enough where you're absolutely getting demoed.
Yeah. Oh, concussions are scary.
They are.
Take them lit. Don't take them lit.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, and as a kid, you're always like, dude, like, it's just a concussion, I'm fine.
Well, that's how it was for so long, man. Like hockey in like the 50s, no one had a helmet on. They're just like, yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got our first fighters.
Don't stop concussions; they stop skull fractures.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Sorry, I just had to grab a quick charger here because the phone was she was going downhill. But we're good. We're back in business, dude. It's concussions are definitely like one of those things that's like you gotta be careful with. And like you watch some people ski, like I mean I get the whole urban side of it where you don't want to wear bring that up to the top, where you don't want to wear a helmet when you're riding urban because of like style and everything. But man, it's important. Like
it really is. Especially in urban. Like, I'll never hit an urban rail with no helmet on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Dude. And like I said, that's one thing. Like, style to not wear a helmet, absolutely not wear a helmet.
But like,
when you're hitting
it's
urban
concrete
and
stairs.
I was going to say, concrete stairs on one side or a 10-foot drop to a paved driveway on the other. No, you wear a helmet. Like,
wear a helmet.
But, like, that's what I was saying. I wouldn't tell people, not because I didn't think it was serious, but more because then everybody gets freaked out. And, like, you actually, the way, like, what they'll tell you to do in terms of like sitting around doing nothing for the amount of time, like if it's not really bad, like you take 2 or 3 days, you just limit your screen time and your thinking, and then you start to ease back into it, you're usually okay, unless it's a really bad one. Because it's like any injury, it needs a little bit of rehab time, then you got to re-strengthen it again. So if you sit around and don't do anything for like 6 months, that's not helping your case either, because you're not strengthening anything back.
Yeah, your brain is a muscle that needs to be worked out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So they say. I've yet to test that theory, but
that's just you, Bruce. Come on, man.
This is my mental workout here, trying to put myself through a podcast.
Hell yeah.
What to say, huh? It's nice because I have a podcast host now, so I can, when shit dies like my phone, I can run upstairs and grab a charger, and the conversation still gets going. All right, guys, we're gonna end this podcast off with my beautiful face. November is coming in, and this might be the first real stash I've had in like my entire life. 22 years old, and yeah, finally starting to grow something here. So I'm pretty stoked on that. But the podcast got ended about 5 minutes short just because of audio issues. If you guys heard earlier, like the volume jumped from the podcast mic to the camera mic, just because the mic somehow gets like a little bit disconnected, I think, from the computer, and then it gets really staticky and fuzzy, and that's what happened for the last 5 minutes. But basically, I literally asked BG what his favorite place to ski was. He said Mammoth because the weather and all the just general skiing you can do at Mammoth. And we agreed with him on that. Mammoth is a pretty sick place to ski. And then the cameras died and everything, so we wrapped up the podcast shortly after that. So you guys didn't miss much. If you guys like this podcast, please, by all means, give me a 5-star review on iTunes. It really helps us out. Helps me out. I mean, screw Patty. Helps me out. But yeah, also subscribe on YouTube and write a review if you're feeling up to it wherever you listen to the podcast. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Deuces. Kid is out. Out. I am out. I'm out of the studio. Yes.